Aaron, obviously everyone always talks about Lambeau, how cold it's going to be and everything. Can you remember what it was like being a NorCal guy, like the first time you played there? Like, how tough is that going to be for Goff or some of those other guys? Because there's really no way they can replicate what it's going to be like, right?
Yeah, it's tough just because there's so many different factors I think that you have to deal with, not just the footing, but the humidity and how the ball feels on your hand, how the ball comes off, if there's any type of precipitation, which in this case, based on the weather, would be snow. That changes how the ball comes off as well. So there's a lot of things that you got to try and figure out in a short amount of time. The ball definitely feels differently as it gets below 30, which we're expecting on Saturday afternoon, evening.
So the last time these two teams met was back in the 2018 regular season when the Green Bay Packers had a chance to snap the Rams' 7-game winning streak, but a costly mistake by Ty Montgomery when he turned the preferred touch back into a kick return and ultimately fumbled the ball. Fast forward 2 seasons later, and these two teams look very much different, along with the venue hosting the event, as the 10-6 Rams will travel to Lambeau Field to face the 13-3 Green Bay Packers. The Rams go into this game after defeating the Seattle Seahawks, while the number 1 seed Packers enjoyed a first-round bye and home field advantage. While Vegas have the Packers as huge favorites going into Saturday's game, a lot of that has to do with the uncertainty surrounding the Rams. Goff, after coming off thumb surgery, is not at 100%, but most likely will start against the Packers. On top of that, you have other key players like Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald who took knocks in the wildcard game against the Seahawks. So obviously, health is a big factor for the Rams and should be looked closely as we move closer to the weekend. So first things first, the weather in Green Bay on Saturday is expected to be below 30. So yeah, it's going to be freezing cold, and for a team based in Los Angeles, they're probably going to feel it a lot more. And for Jared Goff, he's played in 2 playoff games where the temperature was below 30 and averaged a passer rating of 34.5, 47% completion, 0 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. That coupled with his injured thumb, the Rams will most likely be running the offense through running back Cam Akers. Green Bay's defense has to really zero in on the running back. Look for Kenny Clark to have a very busy game, as the Rams O-line can really open up a lot of space, as we saw in last week's game against the Seahawks. And going back to Jared Goff in the playoffs, while he's led his team to the Super Bowl, he's been pretty pedestrian in all 5 games. He's completed only 54% of his passes with 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a passer rating of 75.8. So clearly, the spotlight will be on the Rams quarterback to see if he can lead his team to a crucial road win. Next, when we take a look at the Rams' number 1 defense, this is where the Packers may see a lot of trouble. And the main issue with this defense is that it's so strong on both the pass and the run. While the Packers have one of the best offensive lines, the recent loss of left tackle David Bakhtiari may hinder any chances they had of protecting their quarterback. The Rams' defensive line finished the season with 53 combined sacks for second in the league behind the Steelers and boasts the number 1 scoring defense. They can consistently pressure the quarterback without ever blitzing, and in turn, this opens up the defense to send extra help where needed. The main tackle the Packers need to watch out for is obviously Aaron Donald. Donald, coming off of a rib injury, will most likely be hampered. Rib injuries are very severe and can honestly take over a month to recover from. So how effective the former Defensive Player of the Year will be is questionable. But that being said, Leonard Floyd will also be a handful for the Packers front line. Last week, the 6'6 pass rusher terrorized the Seahawks offense, collecting 2 tackles along with 2 sacks to his name. Floyd, since coming from the Bears, has really transformed himself on the D-line after finishing the season notching 10 total sacks. So Rodgers and company will definitely have their hands full in this game. Head coach Matt LaFleur will simply have to devise a plan to keep both Donald and Floyd from disrupting the offense. While the Packers had the league's number 1 scoring offense, much of that was a connection between Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. Now, the Rams somewhat do have an answer in the receiver in cornerback Jalen Ramsey, and this is one of the most intriguing matchups this weekend. This is the first time these two have met, so expect a lot of trash talking from Ramsey and a lot of precise route running from Adams. Ramsey is largely considered to be one of the game's best cover corners, allowing just 2 touchdowns and a passer rating of 68.6 into his coverage this season. And it's most likely that the Rams corner will be shadowing Adams for most of the night. While I don't think Ramsey will shut down Adams, but he can certainly limit the receiver's impact on the game. That being said, Adams is definitely no slouch, and in my opinion, was the best wide receiver this past season. But he's definitely going to have his hands full on Saturday, and that's where Valdes-Scantling, Lazard, and Tonyan come into play. These 3 simply need to up their game if the Packers have any chance of getting into the NFC Championship game. It's not going to be easy, as the Rams' cornerback as a group are among the best in the league. They don't give up a lot, especially downfield, as they were the only group that didn't let a 20+ yard touchdown pass all season. Packers running back Aaron Jones should have a key role in the offense on Saturday. While the Rams were ranked third against the run, they did at times struggle throughout the season, most notably in the 2 games against division rivals, the 49ers. And the Packers basically run a similar scheme to San Fran with a lot of pre-snap motion and movement that oftentimes gets them a lot of easy completions. So against the Rams front 4, Rodgers will likely not have a lot of time in the pocket and will be looking for a lot of short passes, so Jones should definitely be featured a lot in the run and pass plays. That being said, Rodgers in the playoffs since 2016 has combined for 10 touchdowns and 1 interception, a 108 passer rating on over 65% completion. And we all know how happy he was to have home field advantage in the playoffs this season. So while I don't think this will be a game where Rodgers will be slinging the ball downfield, but rather more so of a game manager, especially in these weather conditions and considering all the other factors in Jared Goff's thumb injury and the Rams' vaunted defense, the offensive game plan should see Aaron Jones heavily utilized on Saturday. Obviously, all this will depend on whether the Packers are in a close nip and tuck game or if they're trailing early on. Green Bay really needs to apply the pressure on the Rams offense and take the early lead, forcing the Rams to throw the ball. However, if the Rams are able to stop the Packers early and get points, they can establish the run and in turn control the clock. So the first few drives are going to be very important to see how the game goes. Defensively for Green Bay, the main focus for them will be trying to stop Rams running back Cam Akers, but a strong performance against the Seahawks, racking up 131 yards and a touchdown on 28 carries. The offense will simply start and stop with Akers, stop the run game, and force Goff to beat you throwing the ball. Letting the Rams run the ball, the defense just opens itself up for play action, and this is where Goff will take shots down the field. They have a lot of receivers with different skill sets in Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Josh Reynolds. Cooper is a receiver who Goff likes going to as a safety net, mostly in the slot, and in Woods, you have a receiver who can gain a lot of yards after the catch. Personally, I think the Rams receiving core is very underrated, so the Packers defense should have their hands full. That being said, the Packers have their own shutdown corner in Jair Alexander, who's evolved into one of the league's premier cornerbacks. On top of that, Green Bay are going to need big games from Darnell Savage, Zadarius Smith, and Rashawn Gary, who's been coming into his own as of late. All in all, this is a very big game, especially for Aaron Rodgers. This really seems like one of the better Packer teams he's had around him in a long while. And while he's hitting the wrong side of his 30s, Rodgers is probably looking for that second Super Bowl to really cement himself as an all-time great. Just having that one Super Bowl, while it is an achievement in itself, but having multiple Super Bowls under your belt, you're now in the company of Peyton Manning, John Elway, Tom Brady, and Joe Montana. Anyways, this game will surely be a classic as long as the Packers can focus on taking an early lead and just forcing Goff to beat you with his arm. This isn't a game where Aaron will be throwing 3 or 4 touchdowns in my opinion, so letting him just manage the game with quick, short passes and allowing Aaron Jones to control the clock is how I think the Packers really need to approach this game. Guys, that's it for this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel as it doesn't cost you anything and you can always unsub or turn off notifications at any point in time.